Enterprises, Inc.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Hub. I'm Nestor and Jason, along with Jason Salas, and our special guest this week is none other than actor, comedian, and movie star Rob Schneider. Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you for having me. Is that a map of Guam behind you?
Yeah, that is our logo for our TV station, KUAM. Okay. That is Guam behind us.
Yeah, so we're right around here, somewhere up there.
Okay, good to know.
And for everyone, Rob will be performing at the University of Guam Calvo Fieldhouse, a benefit concert 2 days, Friday, Saturday, November 3rd and 4th, benefit for the UOG Endowment Foundation. And Rob, tell us what the audience can expect.
Jokes, a lot of jokes. I'm going to tell in my comedy act, I'm going to tell most of the jokes. So they'll be prepared. And no, just mostly about being, the half Asian experience. They'll have that. I'm sure there's going to be some Asians over there. So we'll talk about what's happening with that. And then, I'll hopefully I got Filipino cousins there because, the Filipinos are everywhere. Filipinos, they make it everywhere, man. You can't survive as a country without Filipinos. That's why you got to be nice to Filipinos, because eventually you're going to see one in the hospital.
They're everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. No. That's that's our biggest export in the Philippines.
Yes,
my cousins.
I was going to ask you about that because your grandmother, of course, is the Filipina. So I was going to ask
my mom's Filipino. My mom was born in Manila. Not just my mom, all my relatives over there. Yeah. Okay. So no, it's good. They're nice, generous people, big laughing people. I got some of the Formosos over there too in Guam. My Victor, I haven't seen Victor Formoso in honestly, it's been almost 50 years.
Wow.
So I'll see him. He's in Guam. He just reached out to me. So I haven't seen him since he was a teenager.
Wow.
Last time I saw Victor was with his brother Chucky. Really classical Filipino names. Chucky and Victor. I'm sure that's just their nicknames, but that's how I know them. The last time I was with them, we were at a place and they said, "Hey, Robbie, go up to that man over there. He's this big dude. And call him a babui." And so I went over there and I said, "Babui." And then he just looked at me like that. And then I came back to the table and I said, "What does babui mean?" And they go, "Oh, that means pig. You just called him a pig." I said, "Okay."
Yep.
So yeah, it's the same word in Chamorro too, the indigenous language of Guam, which of course Baboy and Babui is pretty much the same. Jason's got a question for you.
Yeah, Rob, if I may, I find it interesting, and obviously, you've got some material already. You're going to draw from from what you know and who you are when you come out to Guam to like really connect with the audience. But as a comic, right, when you go to different places, how much do you actually how much research do you do? Or, the moment you get off the plane, do you just start soaking in all information about, the environment, the people you meet, their behavior and everything like that? And how much of that actually goes into the act?
Well, I don't really change it up too much. I just kind of go with what's happening in the culture. I think it's important as an artist, especially a comedian these days. People, they're not getting a handle on what's happening in the world on TV. There's some sort of weird censorship that's happening, and then there's the most dangerous form of censorship is self-censorship. So people are careful what they say on Instagram and Facebook, and then the news is very one-sided, kind of 95% what they call liberal, but it's really illiberal, and it's a time of like the 1950s all over again. So I think it's really interesting to poke holes in that and get people to kind of agree that the culture is being hijacked. And it's, As far as what local material I'll do, I don't know yet. I've never been to Guam. I don't think it's that, exceedingly different from Hawaii in my estimation. So I'm going to go there, but it's very far away. I know there's a lot of servicemen there that have been there for a half century. So that should be kind of interesting. And I just play it by ear, but my audiences have been like, I was here in Hawaii and I did 2 shows a couple of nights ago, and the response is phenomenal, of course. And but also it's challenging. I mean, I got to challenge the audience there so that some of the way that they think, they'll come around to my point of view, hopefully. Comedy is the great subversive tool that you can, through comedy, you can get people to challenge their preconceived foundational thinking. I guess that's kind of a clunky term.
Let me ask you about that real quick, Rob, because I know that there's this fantastic documentary. I believe it's on Amazon, and it talked about how the art of being a stand-up has changed, especially like in recent years. With like you said, people being very, very sensitive these days, and people overreacting. And some comics, do you still really hold back? And you're old school.
Some comics are. I mean, some comics are to be honest with you, and they take the easy road. I mean, look. Most comedians are not very good at, most artists. I mean, most architecture, most surfers, whatever it is that they do. It's just there's only a few of them, and it takes work, and it takes thousands of hours, and you have to put yourself out there, and you have to take risks. I'm not interested in just doing what everybody else is doing. It's easy to go, if you want to just make Trump jokes and go against, go with the current, kind of democratic liberal flow, you'll do okay, you'll do better, faster. But if you really want to have an impact, I think you have to be contrarian and go against what's happening. I think that's what's more interesting. I mean, I just remember this as far as comedians is this: Jerry Seinfeld, who I consider one of the great masters of the stand-up form.
Oh yeah.
And his particular style. But more than that, a historian. And he said this many years ago. He said, in 1975, there were 40 comedians, and 8 of them were good. In 1985, there were 4,000 comedians, and 8 of them were good. So I mean, there's a proliferation of podcasts and stand-up, and I will say, there's always been great stand-ups. And there's never been a tremendous amount of them, but there are more better and stand-ups now, and more great stand-ups now than there's ever been. You always had George Carlin, Richard Pryor back in the old days, and
yes, sir.
Steve Martin, and Robert Klein, Woody Allen, but you never had like this many at such an incredible level, like Bill Burr, who will sell out a stadium in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian Maniscalco, another terrific comic, who will sell out several nights at Madison Square Garden. Chris Rock, who's the comedian who talked me into doing stand-up again. And Adam Sandler is also doing stadiums.
I'm a big Victor Borga guy, actually. I grew up watching Victor Borga.
Oh, yeah. My dad loved him.
Yeah.
Playing piano with his nose. I got to see him do that live. That was pretty.
All those old school guys who used to play the Catskills, and they're fantastic.
Man, you're too young to remember that. So, so you have Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Sarah Silverman. You have like these really top-notch comedians, kind of all in their prime at the same time. That's new. That's different. And Daniel Tosh is a great comedian. There's some really, really, really good ones now. Louis C.K. is a fantastic comic who just, is very abrasive and wonderful. I love to that somebody, this guy, Gillis, who got fired off SNL, and, before he even got a chance to do anything, Shane Gillis, and now he's a huge comedian just by putting himself on YouTube. So there is avenues, and I think the audience is really looking for something different, and they're looking for, I think at least they're responding and more loudly and by their feet and by their ticket price by comedy that doesn't serve the the same narrative that you're seeing, you know, on like on TV. Well, all the late night shows are, I mean, to be honest, perfectly honest, it's embarrassing. The late night hosts, I mean, all their jokes are interchangeable. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel used to be much funnier, but that you have Jimmy Kimmel, you have Jimmy Fallon, you have Seth Meyers, you have those jokes, they can just switch, you know, and you wouldn't tell the difference because they're not having a singular voice, and that's just a sad state of affairs. But at the same time, it opens up doors for people like me who are, you know, doing something that's not fitting into that particular, I would say, easier genre.
The Hub is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Let's talk about you. You just celebrated your 60th birthday. Happy birthday. Born on October 31st. What was that like?
Yeah. I was beautiful, man. I got to be right here.
Oh, yeah. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Honolulu,
nice.
yeah.
I got little kids. I got a lovely wife, and it's the best time of my life. I'm enjoying it. And I like to do a couple of shows while I'm here too, and stay sharp. And but I'm looking forward to going out to Guam. That's still got some big audiences out there. So I'm looking forward to performing for a few thousand people. And you'll see, it's fun. It is fun. And I like the I mean, I do at this particular moment of my life, I think it's I mean, live performing is more exciting than movies. I don't know any great movies that are being made right now. I mean, TVs, there's some really good TV shows, but I don't really, I mean, to me, live performance is where it's at. I mean, live performance has never been, there's never been more people excited to go see a live performance. And I really think it's because of all the crazy that's happening that it's creating an audience that's not being served. So I'm happy about that. Anytime I see, you know, the same kind of garbage served up, I go, well, that's just an opportunity for me because, you know, I got a great contrast because I'm not trying to fit in, you know, and it's been interesting. I love it. I mean, I really loved it. There's a very liberal audience here in Hawaii, and to win them over was really something else because they didn't want to go to those certain places. But if you get to them and you're not attacking them and you get to them with logic, with some love, and just some, you know, basic common sense, they really, I mean, I really thought it was good. And it's fun to challenge an audience instead of just telling them what they want to hear, what they expect to hear. And that's really fun. I mean, I really do. I mean, I have to admit, like, I've been doing this for a long time. It's never been more rewarding than now.
Yeah, Hawaii definitely leans left, and you lean left for a bit, according to Wiki.
Well, I mean, I'm traditional. I mean, the traditional liberal, which doesn't mean jack right now. Traditional liberalism is all, you know, it's all a bunch of crap because traditional liberalism is women's rights, and women are under attack right now. Even the word woman is controversial, you know, because it discriminates against guys who say they're women. It's nuts. You know, gay rights, and all of a sudden even gays are under attack now. I talk about all these things. And then, so you have traditional liberalism. Don't judge somebody, you know, by the color of their skin. Now they want you to judge people by the color of their skin. If you're white, you're automatically racist. You know, even math is racist. You know, 2 + 2 = 4, maybe not. It's like, what? Well, it depends on where you grew up. You know, they're dumbing down scores. Instead of trying to help kids get smarter, help kids where they're deficient in math and reading, what they're doing is they're just taking away tests so that these kids who are idiots now don't have to even try to get smarter. Or, you know, so it's just, you're dealing with in a way, an attack on Western civilization, which is what the woke virus is. It is an attack. It's a sneaky attack on Western civilization to try to ruin all of it because the revolution didn't work, man. The revolution didn't work because capitalism did improve people's lives. So the sneaky way to attack and destroy Western civilization is through education. And they're being successful at that. But I think people are starting to wake up to it now.
Has the country become too polarized really quickly? We're getting too much
I
in
mean,
politics.
Well, I would say that no, I would say it's not more polarized. I would say that there is a focus on the loudest voices, and it's only a few thousand people that are like screaming about this. But those are the ones that seem to create. I mean, it's a business. Social media is a business. They have to keep you addicted to it. What's the best way to keep you addicted to it is to feed you what you want to hear and kind of get under your skin a little bit, and so that you're addicted to these apps. So you stay on Twitter longer, so you stay on Facebook longer. Yeah, so that's I would just say that social media is still too new. I don't think children should be allowed on it. I think eventually, in a few years, if you're under 18, you're not allowed to have an Instagram account. It's not healthy. I mean, there's enough pressure at school. I remember, you guys remember when you're at school? School's a lot of pressure and stuff, and then you go home and go, "Woof, I can relax and not have to deal with all that pressure." Now the pressure comes home with you on your phone, and so you can find out if you're still being made fun of while you're at the house doing homework. It's just too much pressure for kids. I agree with my friends who don't let their kids on any of that stuff, and I'm not going to let my kids on it either. Even no matter how much they whine or complain, go, no, you don't need that pressure.
Well, Rob, if I was going to say, let me ask you something, because I was actually able to make a career, and and I was I was always the comic book nerd. I was the guy who played Dungeons and Dragons and everything like that. So I know about that peer pressure. But I was actually able to take something I enjoyed and make a career out of being sports broadcasting. And I do owe you a debt of gratitude, sir, because the 1988 film Necessary Roughness, in which you played the play-by-play, let's say, quote unquote, borrowed so many lines from your performance in that movie. Brother. Yeah. How much of that was actually improv, and how much of that was actually scripted out?
Oh man, I don't even remember. But I remember they just had me just yelling and being a goof. Basically, one of my characters from Saturday Night Live. It's fun. The thing about what was so cool about movies back then too was you still had to see them in the movie theater, which was great. And then they would get on cable after a while, and then if something that would catch on, it was just I had no idea what would catch on, and you just kind of did what you thought was funny, which was the best. But the difference between video games now is now I got to be careful. I have a 10-year-old. She goes on a video game. There can be some weirdo chatting with her on the video game. So it's what? I mean, I remember the first time I ever played a video game, I was in Hawaii. It was 1972 or 71. And the first video game ever was called Pong.
That's right.
There's a little line here and a line here and a ball that goes up, and you just move the thing, and then you hit it, and then the other one hit it.
And that was groundbreaking at the time.
And I went holy. But I didn't have any weirdos trying to contact me on Pong or Donkey Kong or, all the other games that came after it, what was the other one? The big one. Mario Brothers. You didn't have people trying to find you on that. So it was it's a creepier time, I will say. Maybe there were more creeps back then. We just didn't know about it. I don't know. You got to be careful now. But yeah, those movies were fun, and hopefully I get to make a few more. But I will say it's a young man's game, the movie business. I dressed up as a girl 30 years ago or 20 something years ago. And I don't think I could do that in my now that I'm 60. I think it'll be gross. I don't think I can play a man whore anymore in my 60s. But we'll see. I'm not going to rule anything out. Unfortunately, I'm just in Guam for a couple of days, so whatever happens, happens.
You spoke. You mentioned Deuce Bigelow. What was your favorite movie performance?
I like all of them, but Deuce Bigelow was a lot of fun because I didn't think that movie would get made. It was about a male prostitute, and I just thought that was because I saw a movie with Richard Gere where he played a man, you know, a gigolo. When I thought it was ridiculous that these beautiful women would ever need to hire a gigolo. You know, they can just go to any bar, or any place they want. They'll meet as many guys as they want. So I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And I said, well, who are the women that would really need to maybe get a gigolo? And they said, well, you know, and that's why I had a bunch of women with these problems. One woman with the one leg, and another woman with Tourette's syndrome, and then narcolepsy. So it was like a, you know, a silly little idea, and it caught fire, and we had a great time. It was the first one was really fun.
Let me ask you, Rob, to go back a little bit more. You know, take us down a stroll down a memory lane, or maybe amnesia lane, depending how you look at it. Can you tell us about what back in '88, you know, SNL was still like the destination for most people, like in comedy. What was that audition process?
It's still very good. No, it's still very good. They did a sketch the other day, what I saw, which I thought was just as good as anything we ever did, or just as good as the first show, where they made fun of the Screen Actors Guild strike and saying that don't use certain, you know, characters from movies because we're on strike. And I just thought that was brilliant. I loved it. So,
do you still keep up with Lorne Michaels?
You know, I saw him years ago. We see each other once in a while. You know, at the anniversary, maybe it was 9 years ago. But you know, I mean, it was a great place to start, and it's still a great place. It just depends on the stuff that's happening in the world. You know, I remember most of the stuff I remember when I was on it was that people saying we sucked. That's all you remember. We had a couple of good shows. People only remember the good stuff when they grow up, you know, because you're a teenager and you're watching it. That's like your group, and then whatever. Like my group was the original one, you know. So nothing was ever as good as those guys, you know. But then every once in a while you see something great, and that's what's fun about it. Is that sometimes you see some great stuff, and I saw some great stuff the other night, written by Dan Bulla. So that's awesome. I hope that, you know, it's still a great destination for young comedic people who, I mean, it's a great place. It's a launching pad, man. It was unbelievable. Saying live from New York at Saturday night is the greatest thrill you'll ever have in your life.
Who was your favorite cast member to write with and to perform with? Because you had a great cast.
Well, Adam Sandler is a genius. He's just he never lost that 14-year-old sensibility of joy and fun and what makes people laugh, you know, what makes himself laugh. So he held on to that. So yeah, he was just a joy to work with. Yeah, still we have fun together. I mean, he's still so fun.
That SNL franchise has produced so many stars and megastars and people. I would say
most of the comedy stars in America or the world have come out of SNL.
The Hub is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
All right. Hey, Rob, unfortunately, we're out of time. Just such an enjoyable discussion, but I want to give you one last opportunity to invite the people of Guam to your shows.
All right, people of Guam, I'm flying a long way to see you. Come on out and see me. You can do it. 2 shows, November 3rd, November 4th, and that's a day ahead of where I'm at. That's right, Calvo Fieldhouse, November 3rd and 4th. You're going to have a good time, brother. Come on out and see me. Okay, peace out.
All right, that's Rob Schneider, everyone. I'm Nestor Licanto. That's Jason Solis. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Jason.
On the Hub.
See you, buddy. All the best to you.
Thanks a lot. Hey, Rob, have a safe flight, man. 8.5 hours. It's an easy one.
I'll jump on it. I'm going to go over all my notes. I'll be able to have some fun.